Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, my midwifery channel. Welcome back. Today in this video we will be doing interview questions, and this is very serious, but this video will be a little bit different to other ones because this is telephone interviews. I don't know why I'm doing this. Telephone interviews and what's the other one? Online FaceTime type of interviews, because it's COVID, as you guys know, and we're quarantined, so we cannot go and travel and do face-to-face interviews, unfortunately. But I have done a face-to-face interview, because when I was doing my interview process, this was last year, when I was doing my interview process, it was like in the middle of quarantine, so I had some interviews which were face-to-face, then I had some interviews which I had to do over the phone and on FaceTime. So there are some pros and there are some cons to the two. So yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I preferred the telephone ones, because I don't know if this is cheating. But they didn't say that I couldn't do that. I had something in front of me. I had the 5 C's, not the 5 C's. I had the 6 C's in front of me while they were interviewing me. I had all the things I wanted to say in my interview, just so that I don't have to remember them. That was one of the good things about doing an interview where they don't see you, because I literally had a whole page of notes just to remind me of what I was gonna say. I was prepared for any single question they gave me. Any question, they could have given me anything. I know what I was gonna say because it was right in front of me. I don't know if that's cheating, but I'm here now. What are they gonna do? Kick me out? But yeah, so that's, I would say, why I prefer having an interview where it's not in person, because it's just easier. Like, you don't need to get dressed. You don't need to worry about what you need to wear. You don't need to worry about how you need to look. You don't need to worry about none of that. Like, you just need to answer your... Literally, I was in bed. When I was doing my interview. Just woke up. They woke me up. I quickly got my piece of paper that I had prepared and did my interview, like just reading my notes and stuff and answering the questions, and it was good. They never specifically said do not have notes, so I had my notes in front of me. But if your interview is in person, then you're gonna have to use that brain and memorize all these things, you know, which isn't a bad thing. I'm not even gonna lie, like, the piece of paper was in front of me with all my notes, but because I'd written it so much and reading through it a lot, I ended up memorizing the whole thing. Like, I didn't even really use it. I would refer to it and look at it, but I wasn't properly using it like the way I thought I would. So if your interview is in person, it's not the end of the world. Like, people have been doing it and getting in all those years before. This is new thing starting last year because of COVID, so you'll be alright. Okay, so one of the questions that I got in all my interviews, whether it was face-to-face, over the phone, was what does a midwife do? Like, you're always gonna get this question. There's no way of avoiding it, because they want to know that you know what you're applying for. So to answer this question, I basically just looked online for all the answers to all the questions. I just looked online and saw what they were saying, and I just pieced different answers together to make my answer unique and its own. So I basically said a midwife is someone who assists women during birth and labor, and I said that their day-to-day could consist of examining and monitoring pregnant women. They can carry out screening tests. They can be providing emotional support and also physical support to the woman, and also to the father of the baby daddy. You also have to support him as well and answer his questions as well. So don't forget to talk about the baby daddies as well. Make sure you mention that how diverse the role of a midwife can be, like the long hours, the night shifts, the different responsibilities they will have throughout the day, how hard it is. They always want to know that you know how hard being a midwife is. So make sure you mention that it can be quite stressful, and talk about ways that you would cope with what responsibilities a midwife would have to do. Like, just make sure you mention those things. The next question I got quite a lot in my interviews is what is the NMC? Okay, so the NMC, I'm gonna try and remember this off head. Let's see if I remember. The NMC is the Nursing and Midwifery Council. Nursing and Midwifery Council, where the NMC is the Nursing and Midwifery Council, where they basically make sure that all the midwives, all the student midwives that are being trained in the universities are trained up to a certain standard, and this is to like ensure that the public, the patient's health is maintained, like their good health and good care that they're being provided is maintained. The NMC is there for the public and their safety. So yeah, that's what the NMC is. So you have to make sure that you know what the NMC is and what it's about. The next question that they tend to ask a lot, and I got in all my interviews actually, was basically like, what are your key strengths? Like what are skills that you have that can help in midwifery? And I would basically just talk about the 6 C's, you know. Don't mention the 6 C's too much, you know, because everyone knows the 6 C's. Do I remember the 6 C's? Let's see if I remember. Care, compassion, competence, communication, courage. I always forget the last one. I always forget. What is that? Care, communication, compassion, courage, competence, commitment. Yeah, make sure you don't over talk too much about the 6 C's. You don't have to mention all of them. I only mentioned like 2 when I was doing my interviews, and that's fine. I would just say that I have good communication skills that I've picked up through extracurricular activities that have helped me to be able to talk to people in a certain way to make sure that they feel empowered and to make sure that they feel comfortable. I'm good at showing compassion to women, even though, you know, they might look at me. I also mentioned how I'm quite young, because in midwifery, when you're doing your course, you would realize that like there's a whole different range of ages. Like there can be people my age, like 18, 19, to people who are like in their 40s. So I would like mention how, you know, I'm quite young, so they probably wouldn't expect me to understand, or they might take me as a joke because I'm young, like I'm playing about, but I'm not playing about. I'm a real serious midwife. So also the communication skills that I've obtained from my extracurricular activities have enabled me to be able to talk to a wide range of different people from different backgrounds, which is needed in midwifery. So just make sure you bring up points that are relevant to you, and yeah, just bring up the skills that you need, like the 6 C's, and relate some of them back to you and talk about them and how you are and how you would be. What are the current issues affecting midwives? So this question, you can definitely talk about COVID-19 in this. I think I did bring that up in my telephone interview because we were literally going through it, and we still are. It's gonna be a year. But anyways, that's not what this video is about. But yeah, the current issues affecting midwives. There's a lot. Even before COVID-19, if you don't want to talk about coronavirus, you could talk about how there's a shortage of midwives. So this is really bad because there's like less midwives working, like qualified midwives. One midwife will have to look after like 14 or 15 women at one time, and that can be very stressful. You know, just looking after one woman is a lot. So imagine doing 14 at one time. You know, that's very stressful, and this is just because of the shortage of midwives. So there's not enough to look after all these pregnant women. So that is a current issue affecting midwifery. And then also the COVID-19, that whole situation is also affecting the amount of midwives working, because there are midwives who were nurses before, so they're a qualified nurse and they're also a midwife, so they changed to be a midwife after. They are now going back to nursing because nurses are what are needed right now because of COVID-19 and because there are a lot of sick patients and stuff like that. So a lot of midwives who were nurses before are going back to nursing, and that is also decreasing the amount of midwives, making it harder to look after all these women. What extracurricular activities have you done to become a student midwife, to help become a student midwife? Okay, so this question, I'm not even gonna lie, I've never worked in a care home, never worked in a hospital, I've not done anything when it comes to care at all. So I didn't really want to lie because I was scared that they would know, even though they cannot know. But don't lie, don't lie. They won't be able to tell if you're a good liar, but don't lie about what you've done. I didn't. I told the truth. Listen, I've worked in McDonald's and I used that in my interviews. All my interviews, I used the fact that I used to work in McDonald's. If you've worked in a care home, say that you've worked in a care home, because that's good. If you've done hospital work before, done that stuff, that is amazing. But I hadn't, and I couldn't at the time because of COVID-19, and I didn't before because no one would take me. So I would just stick to my part-time job in McDonald's. And basically the way I worked around it was I would relate it to what a midwife does. So when I'm working at McDonald's, like, I'm on my feet for 12 hours. Like a midwife, I'm on my feet for 12 hours. Just like how a midwife is on their feet for like 10, 12 hours. Okay, that's a stretch. I'm not on my feet for 12 hours in McDonald's. I'm on my feet for like 8. But yeah, it's still the same. It's still long. Also talk about how I was in school. I was in sixth form for 5 days. And then on the weekends, I would work the weekends. So basically I had no days off. And I would say how that shows my hard work and how much strength I have physically and mentally to be able to handle schoolwork and have a part-time job at the same time and still be doing well in school. Can show my commitment. See, I'm getting the 6th season there. You can relate it. Whatever you're doing, just relate it. Made sure to relate what a midwife does to my job at McDonald's, and it worked. I would talk about customers. I would relate customers to patients, because listen, McDonald's customers, they're something else. They're very rude. So I would not saying that patients are rude, but I'm just talking about like how I would handle it. Like, so when a customer was rude to me, or a customer came up to me and was like, my burger's cold, my Big Mac is too cold, make me another one. I would just be like how I handled that and how I would handle a patient if, you know, it was a similar situation they were going through in that setting. I would talk about how I would use my communication skills, which also brought it back to the 6 C's and helped with all of that. So you just relate it, guys. Just relate it. You get what I'm saying? If you haven't worked in a care home, it's not the end of the world. Trust me, because I have never even stepped foot in a hospital yet. I also talked about how we had to work in a team. They like that. These midwives, they like the whole teamwork thing. So make sure you mention how you worked in a team. Whether you were in a roller skating team, a basketball team, just make whatever it is, just talk about how you were in a team and how you guys helped each other, because as a midwife you'll be working in team a lot. So at McDonald's I was working as a team, so I just kind of compared it and brought them together to make it make sense. So yeah, those are the few questions that I had that I feel like you guys should read up on, do your research. And when doing research, all you really have to do is just search up on the internet. That's what I did. I just searched on the internet, did my notes and tried to memorize it for the face-to-face ones, and just referred back to it in the telephone ones. So whatever type of interview you had, you'll be fine. Just relax. It's not that deep at the end of the day. Like, one of the universities is gonna take you. Like, they have to. You can't get declined by all 5 of them. Plus, another thing is that they are actually taking on more midwives this year. They took on more midwives this year, and they're taking on more midwives next year because of this whole COVID-19 thing. They want a lot more qualified midwives. So you're actually at an advantage. Like, last year, before my year, they only took in 60 at my university, but this year they took in 130. So there's 130 of us. That's a lot for midwifery. So like, you have more of a chance this year, so don't stress about it too much. But yeah, that's really it. I will be doing more videos. Make sure you like, comment and subscribe for more, because there will be more videos and I'm gonna try to be consistent. It's just the workload is not a joke. It really isn't, and I'll be making a video about that. And please ignore this the whole time. Like, my glasses are broken. I'm getting new glasses soon. But yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.